Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Mitchell Renz from Chat Sports. And coming up here on today's show, we got to talk about it. Where is Derek Carr going to be playing football in 2023? DC has been the Las Vegas Raiders starting quarterback since he was drafted in 2014. And since he was benched in Week 16, it looked like Jarrett Stidham played pretty well with new head coach Josh McDaniels. As it currently stands right now, Derek, when he signed his extension in the offseason, he also wanted in that new contract a no-trade clause. I was told by a very good source that Derek is going to waive that no-trade clause. Why? Because he wants to make extra money. DC knows if he hits free agency, he's not going to make nearly the amount of money that he would if a team were to trade him. And when the Raiders do trade him, they will eat $5.63 million if traded, and yeah, technically if cut as well. Let's just say you're another NFL team out there. Yes, this is being filmed on the Raiders Report, but there are going to be NFL teams out there interested in Carr's services because, sure, he's not a top 10 quarterback. I'm not even sure if he's in that top 15 range anymore, but he is still a serviceable veteran who's got over almost 10 years of playing experience. And if you were to trade for him, this is how much it would cost the team per year. No money guaranteed. And if Carr can play like a top 12 quarterback, these type of numbers here, if you're an NFL team that's a quarterback away, you'd probably be more than willing to pay those type of numbers. Now, I saw this. I saw a quarterback this season under brand new head coach Josh McDaniels struggle. And not only did he struggled of late in December. But there are two ways to look at this argument. You can look at this argument at either A, Derek Carr has dealt with more BS than any quarterback, arguably in NFL history, or C, Derek's just starting to fall down a little bit. Over the past 4 years, Derek, I was hoping, would start to play a little bit better in 2020 when that's realistically was the last time that I had a lot of hope that Carr could be a top 12 quarterback. And then even in 2021, he was trending in the right direction. But you know everything that happened with Gruden. You know what happened with the Henry Ruggs situation. And then he started to fall off. In 2022, let's just face it, the Raiders' offense underneath Derek, it's just not clicking like the way that Mark Davis was hoping when he made him at the time one of the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks in the National Football League. From a career standpoint, Carr's got 35,222 yards, 217 touchdowns, 99 interceptions. I'm going to look at every single one of y'all right now dead in the eyes and say, even though Carr's got a 63-79 career record and no playoff wins, he is going to go down in the Raiders' history books as being one of the Raiders' greatest quarterbacks of all time. I'll also say, if anybody out there saying, I'm going to throw away my Carr jersey, this and that, don't do that. DC did a lot of good things with his franchise and organization. I do think it was the right move to bench him, especially from a business decision. It's the right idea to move on. But we also have to understand that the Raiders' defense, and I purposely left out the letter D because Carr's never had a defense. That's a cold, hard fact. The Raiders have never had a top 20 defense in terms of overall points allowed with DC. So, was he the main problem? No. It was the defense, and it always starts at the top. But Derek Carr was clearly a problem, and it's the right thing for both sides to move on. So, I want to hear y'all down in the comments section right now on today's Raiders Report video. What's going to happen with Derek? Is he going to get traded? Is he going to get cut? Or do you believe number 4 just ends up retiring? Because remember, he said last offseason that he would rather retire than play for another NFL team. I'm going to put my money on trade because when he said it, I actually thought it was a bluff to begin with, so I'm going to type my T or just downright trade. Coming up next here on the Raiders Report, we're going to get into some Derek Carr destinations. I have them ranked from 6 all the way down to 1, and they are both trade and free agency signings wherever he decides to play next offseason. Let's go to number 6 on the list. If I sit up here all the time and I tell you the quarterback that's the most likely to play for the Raiders next season is Tom Brady, well, they're going to need a quarterback. So if I was DC, why wouldn't you want to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? They have, when healthy, a good offensive line. You got some good skill position players there, but overall, weak division, and you finally have a defense. In the NFC South, the Bucs have won it 2 years in a row with Tom Brady. If Derek does still believe in himself, which I would imagine he does, going down to Tampa Bay, going to a team that has done pretty well in that division because it is one of the weakest, if not the weakest division in all of football, because that's what Derek wants at this point. He wants to show people that he can win and that he can win playoff games. That's what Derek Carr wants at this point in his career. We got a new sponsor here on the Raiders Report, and they are called Fume. Try Fume.com/chatsports. Let me tell you a little bit about them. The Raiders Report is sponsored by Fume. Be smart, don't start, kick the habit, and put it out before it puts you out. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. Fume is not a vape. It is a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. Instead of pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals like a vape, Fume uses cores infused with plants like peppermint and cinnamon for delicious natural flavors. Fume's new version 2 model is snappy and tactile. With an adjustable airflow dial and a magnetic end cap, your fingers will always have something to do. It's Fume's goal to make switching easy and even enjoyable. They have thousands of 5-star reviews from people just like you who've successfully switched when other solutions just didn't work. Head to tryfume.com/chatsports and use code chatsports to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors and the new version 2 Fume to help kickstart your positive habits. That's tryfum.com/chatsports and use code chatsports to save an additional 10% off your order today. Now, Nation, I wanted to show you all what the pack looks like here. It comes in a really sleek design. Also, Fume itself, as you can see, fits easy in your pocket. That's tryfume.com/chatsports and use code chatsports for an additional 10% off. Number 5, the Houston Texans on our list. And the reason why they're going to be brought up here is because if Houston decides to not take a quarterback in the top 2 picks overall, well, then they're still going to be looking for one. I do believe Carr is an upgrade over Davis Mills, though one could make the argument at what Davis Mills is making compared to what Derek Carr is making. Some would maybe rather Mills. I also know that Houston does have a very good relationship with the Carr family because they drafted David Carr, Derek's older brother, and currently just trying everything in his due to just ruin his relationship with the Raider Nation. But he did get drafted by the Texans organization. I don't really believe fans would want Derek Carr there. But again, you're playing down south. You're playing in an easy division. The only issue is I don't really see the Houston Texans winning any games anytime soon. But if Carr does want to make $32.9 million, Texans could be a team to think about. Coming up next here on Derek Carr Destinations in 2023, it's the Washington Commanders. When I think about this list, you got to talk about the teams that have been linked to D.C. in the past years. And if you think this is the first offseason we've talked about Derek Carr trade rumors, wow. You have not been around the nation very long. Carr is a clear upgrade over Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke. Washington has been linked to D.C. before, and that's usually more to do with his old head coach, John Gruden, and at the time, Jay Gruden was the offensive coordinator in Washington, and that connection's not there anymore. However, the connection that is there and that Raider Nation should talk about is the best Derek Carr I've ever seen, 2015, 2016, under at that time, Raiders head coach Jack Del Rio. Well, even though Del Rio isn't the head coach in Washington, and he's not even the OC, he is currently the defensive coordinator. Maybe you could put a good word in for the quarterback that did make him look pretty good for at least 1 year. Now, we still got 3 more teams to get to, but a friendly reminder, if you want the latest, most up-to-date news, you got to follow me on Twitter. If you want to get to know me on a more personal level, hey, I'm over here on Instagram. And if you want even more exclusive live shows and then even get more of the real one for lives people on Mount Rushmore, that's where Locals comes in. RaidersReport.locals.com. It's time now to get into the top 3. The New York Jets. If the New York Jets were on the West Coast or in a game spot that we'll just say was warmer, maybe in a dome, they would be higher on my list. If you're the Jets / if you're Derek Carr, you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, are we an offensive way that needs a quarterback? Yes. Is the defensive unit good? Yes. However, it is a tough division, which I don't know if Derek wants that because I believe Derek Carr on the New York Jets, 3rd, 4th best team in that division. On top of that, D.C. is 0-7 in his career in games under 37 degrees. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I went to school in New Jersey. Hell, I did an internship with the Jets my final year to help me get through college. I know how cold it can get there. And if it's under 37 degrees, do you really want a quarterback that struggles that bad in the cold? You guys can answer that question. We still got 2 more teams to get to, but hey, I want to give you guys some honorable mentions. The Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray. What if he doesn't play next season? They need a quarterback for 1 year stopgap. Cardinals are a team to keep in mind. The Green Bay Packers, the fact that the Raiders gave Devontae Adams, or at least Devontae Adams wants to be able to choose who the next quarterback is in Las Vegas. If Rodgers wants to come to Las Vegas, that's going to be a conversation. What happens if Rodgers retires, if they miss the playoffs, DC wants to go rejoin Rich Bisaccia in Green Bay? The Carolina Panthers, they've been looking for new quarterbacks. What if Tua decides to retire after 3 concussions? And then the Titans, who have a great relationship, Mike Vrabel and, McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, relationships, they matter. Number 2 here on our list for Carr destinations next season, it's the Indianapolis Colts. Since I have been doing this show, and we've put out a video every single day for 3 years, which is pretty incredible if you ask me, but the one team that's always been linked to Derek was Indianapolis. And last offseason, I was told by a source that the Colts, they wanted Derek Carr. The issue was the price was a little bit too high. At the time, I was told that it was going to be at least a first and a third-round pick. Well, now I believe it's probably going to be a second and a third-round pick for DC. If Indianapolis, who has went through 5 years straight with 5 different quarterbacks, are like, you know what, we might as well try it again. You got a good offensive line. You're in a bad division, a great running back, and currently the defensive coordinator is Gus Bradley, who was with Derek Carr last season. I do believe that team's going to look for a brand-new coaching staff because of all the people that they fired already. But I don't know, maybe Gus Bradley puts on a good word for DC going to the Indianapolis Colts. But that means the number 1 team most likely to have Derek Carr in 2023 is the New Orleans Saints. And the reason why it's the New Orleans Saints is multiple reasons. You play in a dome. You're going to be playing inside. That's where Derek plays his best football. On top of that, in 2014 when Derek was drafted, Dennis Allen was the head coach of the, at time, Oakland Raiders. Dennis Allen and Derek Carr still have a very good relationship. The Saints have a good defense. Sure, their offensive line can improve and their skill position players can improve as well, but you're looking at a team right now that they're in this limbo of an area. Carr is better than Andy Dalton. You don't know how healthy Jameis Winston is, and let's face it, Carr's better than Jameis Winston. But on top of that, DC wants to win football games. Carolina stinks. Atlanta Falcons, not great. Tom Brady not on the Buccaneers. That's not going to be good for them. He's got a legitimate shot. So he's got a head coach that he connects with on a good defense in a weak division. That's why I believe Derek Carr plays for the New Orleans Saints next season. But I want to know from the nation, we have amazing fans here, and I'm going to miss Derek. There's no doubt about it. Derek Carr helped me grow the Raiders Report. He helped me grow my brand. He's the guy that I've talked about more on this show than anybody. But you know what? I do think it's time to move on. I do want to know, though, where you believe DC is going to play next season. Before we put a bow on today's show, here are my Derek Carr destinations 1 through 6. If you want to take a screenshot of this, tag me on Twitter, tag me on Instagram. It's greatly appreciated. But if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so. Turn on those notifications because when the Raiders do trade Carr, if they cut him, if he decides to retire, whatever it is, I'm going to be on Derek Carr Watch this entire offseason. I don't want you to miss it. Plus, hey, you made it this far in the show. So hit the subscribe button, turn on those notifications. Derek, I wish you the best. You will always be a Raider, but if we go up against you on a game day, sorry, man, I'm going to be rooting against you.